Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Check it out. It's the Halo drone from the makers of Halo board. But this is not the hoverboard. This is the Halo drone. The same makers of that Halo board have made a drone, and this is it. Could this possibly be one of the best drones of 2018? It just came out. This is December 2017, and we're going to go in depth with this one. This is going to be a multi-part review, unboxing, inspection, and setup. On this first portion, I'm going to do a full-on flight test. There's a lot going on with this drone. It has a GPS tracker. It has a watch you can wear and control it with the watch. So all kinds of stuff going on. Definitely comparable to something like the Karma drone, GoPro Karma. And we're going to go in depth, so let's get started. Okay, so this is the Pro version, guys. There's two versions of this. There's a standard version that just comes with a regular controller and the drone. And then there's a Pro version, which I have here, which comes with a little GPS tracking module you can put on whatever you want. And this drone will follow that, and it has all the functions to go, advanced functions of following that tracker. The Pro version, which this is, also comes with a watch. So it has a watch you can control aside from the regular two-stick controller. And that's the only difference between the Pro and the standard version, is the watch and the GPS tracker. It comes with a really nice backpack case, very rigid, hard design. It's filled with EPP foam, kind of the same foam that they make airplanes and stuff out of. Very light but very durable. We can see that we have a kind of a rubberized Halo insignia here with some ridges on the top of the backpack coming over to the back of it here. We've got the padding and the straps, nothing too special going on here. It still has that hard material in the back, but it's actually covered up with some cloth vinyl here. A nice sturdy backpack handle here, and here's our two backpack straps. If it gets wet, they've got breathable padding here so it can dry out really quick. It also has a waist strap. But anywho, without further ado, let's go open this thing up. So it's got these two zippers here, and actually, let me flip it back over. We have to open it up with the straps up. So two zippers, unzipping just like a regular suitcase. And here we go, opening it up. Here it is. So there's the Halo drone. You see how it has this EPP foam, very rigid and durable foam that they use for RC airplanes. This thing is not going to be breaking off or chipping anytime soon. It's very well sealed. There's the instruction manual that just fell out. We'll be going over that in just a second. We have two bags here of clockwise and counterclockwise propellers. It looks like you've only got 6 propellers total, so we're only going to have 2 extras once 4 propellers are on the drone. So maybe, you know, first off, maybe it would have been nice for them to give us 2 full sets. Definitely are paying for the Pro version. They should probably at least include that in the Pro version. Anyhow, looking at all, here's the whole layout here, looking from the top down. Of course, we have all these compartments with everything inside. We have a little strap here to kind of hold the drone in place. I'm gonna take that strap off, and let's go through everything and take everything out one by one. These interesting things to the most interesting things. Here is a little wall adapter. This is a US plug version, and here's a charger for the battery. Looks like this little top cover just kind of pops open, and look at that. So it's very similar to maybe a Phantom, I want to say Phantom 2 type of charging, 2 or 3. They have 2 big prongs here with a little tiny plastic thing there. So that is our charging system there. And also has, you can see this other connector here is actually going to be for the controller. So great that you can charge both things at the same time, the drone battery and the controller. This little pocket here, pulling this out, looks like we have a charging clamp for some of the peripherals. We have a micro USB cable and another gimbal cable, which we'll be going over in just a second, showing you all the components, and a little hex wrench. And then this here looks like some extra clips, 4 little pieces of extra clips, and these clips are actually the clips that are going to be clipping the drone arms opened. Further moving on, here's the battery. So we can see that it is a pretty hefty battery. Check it out. It is a 6,000 milliamp hour 3S 11.1 volt battery. So nothing super special with this battery, but it is a very high capacity. 6,000 is going to keep us in the air. I believe this thing can fly for about 20 minutes. It is a larger drone, so 20 minutes is a pretty good flight time. We can see that it has the battery readouts. And there we go. Press it once and we're getting the readouts just like a DJI. And if we press and hold, that's how we power on our drone. This is what sets this drone apart from the standard version, is this section up here. And for other drones actually, in comparison, here it is. So this is the GPS module. So check this out. This module you turn on, you sync it with the controller and the drone knows all the time where this thing is in GPS space and three-dimensional space. So it will follow, for these advanced follow functions, it will follow this more reliably than a vision tracking system that supposedly that the DJI drones have. And it will also adjust its altitude comparable to the tracking device's altitude. So that's really cool. You don't see that nowadays in many drones. And on the back here we can see this is where we're going to charge it with that little clip that we just looked at in the bag for charging. And check this out. Other thing that sets it separate from the standard version and a lot of other drones is a watch. This looks a little bit familiar. Remember the Sim 2 drone, Dragonfly I believe, came with a watch, and it has this kind of same look to it. But I can tell you right now, this one is definitely way better made, and it just seems all around better. We have a rubber strap. Remember the other watch had this kind of cheesy cloth strap. This looks like a high durable rubber that's going to flex around your wrist nicely. There's where we're going to charge it on the bottom there with that same clip. Let me just take this clip out of the bag so you guys can see how this is working. So we plug our micro USB cable into here, and then we clip this thing on. You see how it has these 4 springing pins. A little bit interesting, there's no magnet going on here. Maybe it would have been nice if they could have some kind of magnetic type of system like more of the smartwatches do now. But you can see how we just kind of clip it. It just kind of falls into this little groove. This little tip here falls into the groove, and then the pins fall into where they're supposed to contact, and that thing's not coming off. You plug your micro USB cable in here, plug that into your wall, and that's how you're going to charge the watch and also this GPS tracking module. Anyway, the watch is what we're going to be controlling it with if we're not using the controller here. So that's going to be probably a separate review, definitely a separate review, because I'm really anxious to try that out. If we have enough battery power in the flight test in this next video coming up, we'll try the watch. But I'm pretty sure we're only going to have enough power to test it with the controller first. Then I'll make multiple videos with the watch. Further checking out some stuff, check this out. This is a sports band. So if you wanted to track somebody, you can put this on, or yourself even. Put the little tracker in here. And I'm not sure if this is waterproof. On their website, there is a guy surfing with this thing. But I don't know. Anytime you're going in salt water with stuff, you really want to make sure from the manufacturer that it's capable of doing that. It looks like it's pretty sealed up, but who knows? I mean, there is a little speaker port there. I'm not sure how waterproof that is. But you can definitely put it in this strap, put this strap on your arm or somebody you're filming's arm. The cool thing about this that I'm probably going to be using in some of my reviews is I can put this on RC cars and other quadcopters and stuff and have a really reliable GPS tracking module. If it goes out of image tracking like DJI's stuff, they're known to kind of lose tracking quite easy in fast motion. But since this is logging a GPS point and it's always updating the computer with this GPS point, the drone is going to follow this much more speedily and accurately. Even if it like passes behind stuff briefly and goes out of line of sight, it will still be able to track this no matter what. This drone does not have any kind of obstacle avoidance, so please keep that in mind. Anyway, there's the wrist strap. Really cool stuff. Nothing else up here. The only other thing is the drone and the main controller. So let's pull out this main controller and then we'll check out the Halo drone. So this is pretty interesting what they chose to do here. This controller is a little bit different than stuff like the Phantom controllers, although it does have the same kind of layout and functions. But you can see how it has this unique look. It's got this gray and black plastic here. Really nice accents with these orange sticks here and some red accents there. It does have an aluminum standoff for a phone and tablet holder. Now these you flip down for putting in a smaller cell phone. You flip those up and you can fit a large tablet, and let's see how this opens up. So if I push this button, okay, so definitely not the nice smooth pneumatic of DJI, but it does open up, and it looks like you can fit up to a 10-inch tablet in there. So definitely a large tablet capable. It's got this nice rubber material on here. This is not foam now, this is a really grippy rubber, so your tablet won't be falling out anytime soon. You can push that all the way back to about there, and then push it forward all the way till it folds up. Looks like you can remove this entire standoff system here, this mounting system, if you wanted to. And here's the sticks, so we can see throttle, yaw, pitch, and roll here on the right stick. These are both spring-loaded, so this is definitely going to be your altitude hold there. Just let off the stick. So this drone has two modes. It's got the attitude mode or altitude hold only mode here, and then it's got position hold. You can see there's an A and a P button here. Position hold is going to be your GPS hold. So you can switch between those two positions if you wanted to. Power button. Press for our power here. Click once, click and hold, just like DJI, to turn on the controller. This has an H button, a designated return to home button, so you press that if you panic out or want it to come home. And the last two buttons here on the front are the X and the L button. Now the L button is just going to be used for launching and landing, auto launching and landing. And the X button is exclusively used for emergency shutoff. So you need to press the X button and the power button at the same time, I believe. Say it's crashing or you're going to be running into people or something like that, press them at the same time and the whole drone will just power off, no matter if it's in the air or what. So be very careful with that. Don't press those two at the same time unless you want it to drop out of the sky or power off. Turning it over here on the front, we have a couple of connectors here. I'm not sure what these are going to be used for at this moment. It doesn't actually say anything in the instruction of what these are for, but possibly just for updating. At the moment, the only buttons that are in use on the controller here are these two large trigger buttons there, and also this gimbal roll button. In the instructions, it doesn't say anything about the alternate roll button or these two smaller buttons, so hopefully those are going to be future additions and we can have some future functions there. This module here, this is actually the 5.8 gigahertz video module. You can see it says Halo 5G, and this just pushes up and pulls off, and it has these little contacts here at the bottom. So you won't be able to get your video transmission to your tablet unless you have this thing on here. And all this is you can see how it just goes in and slides down and notches. So we put that on like this, and then we make sure we push it in and slide it down, and so those contacts are connected. You can see it says Halo on the front, and it looks like it's going to be kind of a patch antenna, so no antenna is actually sticking out and up, which is a little bit disappointing to me, but as long as this patch antenna, you have this facing directly at the drone, I think it will do okay for range. Anyway, further moving on, you can see that we have this nice durable metal handle here on top for carrying around. We've got some nice rubber insets here on the left and right. No bottom trigger buttons on this one at all. A couple of lights to know that we're connected and that the FPV is working when we have this powered on. And actually the last thing on this controller over on this side is going to be our charge port. So you remember that charger in the box had two ends to it. One was for the battery and one is actually to stick in right here and open this up. So maybe a little bit difficult to open this up with this tab here. I can't really open it with my finger, so you're actually going to have something initially to like dig in there and open this guy up. But anyway, there it is. You open that up, slide it over, and that's how you're going to be charging the controller with the existing charger. Anyway guys, that kind of wraps it up for the controller. Let's bring out the star of the show here, the Halo drone, and see what it's all about. So carefully pulling it up. You can see as I pull it out, there's really nothing else in there. It's got some foam for where the gimbal is. And so we can put this backpack down to the side and take a look at the Halo drone. Okay guys, so what do you think? Does it look like something from Halo? The video game? To me, it kind of does. I think the theme of the whole thing was slightly to look like something from the video game. I'm not sure exactly what the designers were looking for, but to me, it looks like something like a drop ship or a Banshee or something from Halo. Very cool and sleek looking. It's definitely a larger object here, a larger drone. It's pretty light without the battery in. There's where we're going to put our battery in, slide that in. You can see the two contacts there. Nothing really special going on here. It's just a plain Jane battery bay. Two main contacts there, and then we have this little spring-loaded tab here. Pretty large motors. These guys, there's no motor specs on them, but they do look like they are going to give us enough power. There's no labeling or anything. Flipping it over, you can see on this arm it says drone, and on this arm it says Halo. It definitely has all folded up like this. It kind of has that Karma look. You can see that it has a 3-axis gimbal here. Now this gimbal is actually looking like something like a Feiyutech gimbal. I've had a few Feiyutech gimbals, and this looks like maybe the Mini Pro type of Feiyutech gimbal that they sourced from Feiyutech to possibly put on this thing. Now this is where this thing gets kind of unique. You can see how it has kind of a front that slopes up, and the whole gimbal hangs down, so you don't have really anything in the view of the camera aside from this top portion that hopefully won't get in the way. But check this out. So this nice kind of reddish copper looking gimbal mounting system, and so this thing just kind of moves around and is dampening the vibration of the gimbal. You can see how well that's working. It's working really well. So back and forth, front and back, and side to side. Looks like it's really going to dampen this thing really good. You can see how much that gimbal's moving around. Getting to the camera, they're labeling this as the Halo Cam. It does kind of look like a rebranded SJ Cam or something like a Firefly or something like that. Hopefully it has some pretty good quality, but this is coming with both the standard version and the Pro version of this Halo drone. You can see that it does 4K 30 frames per second right off the front here. So it's definitely a 4K cam. And you take off this little lens cap so you can kind of see the lens here. There we go. So it does have a little lens protector. Take that guy off, and let's see what this thing looks like. So it's looking pretty good, you know. Nothing super special. There's where we're plugging in for our FPV and our functioning controls while we're flying. There's that cable that they gave us an extra one in the box. If this one somehow breaks, we have an extra one to go. But you see how it's dampening the pitch, the roll, and the yaw access all in one. There's also some plastic around the motors here, so I'm definitely going to want to take that off before I get up and fly. A piece of protective tape wrapped all the way around. Unwrap this tape just like that. There we go. Definitely want to take that off all 3 motors. Anyway, this is a full-fledged action cam, guys, so you can take this out of this gimbal mount if you wanted to and use it as an action cam. It's not specifically designed just for this drone, even though it does function well with it. So that's definitely going to be useful if you wanted to take this off and use this as a standalone camera. You can see that we have a power button there, we have an OK button there, some lighting on the front. And then this one actually had a micro SD card inside of it. You can see here, let me just unplug this little connector here. So there's a micro USB connector there, and there's our card they already give us in the box. Let's see what this is. Clicking in and it pops out, and this is an 8 GB Kingston Class 10 card. So apparently this is good enough to do 4K, hopefully. Push in with a fingernail, looks like it'll do it, and it clicks right in there. Cool, so it seems to me like we may need to be changing the resolution and stuff directly from the camera menu. I don't think we're going to be able to change this from the actual drone application, the Halo drone menu on our iPad, which I'll be using for this review. Getting back to the way the drone is working here, I'm going to flip it upside down before we open up these arms. And it looks like they chose to put the module here, the 5.8 gigahertz video module right here bolted up to the front there. There's a little scan code here, and then it actually has this little interesting little notch here. I'm not sure if this is maybe for a future module, but there's actually a hole here, possibly something we can clip in there, and a little couple of screw holes here. The landing gear are very small, very similar to something like the Mavic or something. They actually just bolt right up on here, screw up on plastic, and then they've got these little rubber feet on the bottom for grip, and then there's the ones in the front. So the way it's sitting is just like that. Pretty low profile. So let's open up the arms on this thing and see how it looks and see how all these arms work. So it's folding out just like something like the Karma or Mavic. You can see how the back arms are above the front arms, and it looks like we want to be careful of these little clips when we're opening this up. We definitely don't want to break them. It looks like they might be pretty easy to accidentally catch and break. But anyway, opening those up, you can see how that's everything opened up. And then this is how we're clipping these arms so they're gonna stay put. Once you get the arm opened, these are plastic. They do look like they're almost metal. They have this copper look to them, or anodized aluminum look to them, but they are plastic. So be very careful with these. And I was trying to just push on the tab here, but actually what you want to do is push your thumb right in the center of the clip and kind of expand it, and then push the top tab over so it goes and clicks in nice and sturdy. So you want to try that with all 4 of these, 3 and 4. So set up pretty quick, just expanding the arms. Now the only thing about this is you can see that the propellers aren't on. So I believe the Karma has the propellers on. It can be collapsed down and in the case. This one unfortunately does not fit in the case with the propellers on. We can see that we've got silver for clockwise and black for counterclockwise. The motors are going to have this little dimple in the top. So we want to put the black ones on here, and we want to put the silver ones on top of the motors with no dimple. You can see that this is just flat straight across, and those are going to have the silver ones. So just like any other screw-on type of propeller drones, I think the Phantom, from the Phantom 3 and under, they use this screw-on type of propellers. A little bit of older technology, but if it works, it works. I'm not going to knock them that much for it. You know, they aren't slide and clip and lock type of propellers, but they'll do the job just fine. And then always on these screw type propellers, you really want to make sure that you go ahead and just grip the motor and give it another little crank until, you know, like finger tight, until you can't really turn it anymore easily, just so all 4 of those propellers are on there and you know they're not going to fall off. Okay guys, so I think that goes over everything pretty in-depth and up close. Now what we want to do is turn this guy on and just see how the application looks. So sliding the battery into the back, just make sure that the shape is how it looks, and actually the connections you can see here on the battery are right here. And you can see that we've got the tabs in the drone there, so we want to just slide in just like this, push it in until we hear a clip. And I'm going to be using the iPad Air 2 for this review and flying for this drone. So what you need to do is go into the Apple or Android App Store. What I couldn't find was an iPad version of the app. I did download the iPhone version of the app, and actually it works with the iPad. So just a little tidbit, if you can't find it for your iPad, download the phone version and it seems to be working fine. Anyway, so I want to mount this up on the controller here. So we open it up, mount the tablet. You can see that we have a nice large surface area to mount up our tablet here, and we can bend that around as however we want, and it works very well. Okay, so first thing we're doing is we're turning on the controller. So we click and hold. See the power lights go up and it's got some beeping. And then we go ahead and turn on the drone. So this one, same thing, click and hold, power lights go up. And right away I saw the gimbal kind of right itself to its level position. So I'm going to turn this around facing front so you guys can see what this is all about. There's our blinking lights, our camera, and everything is going good. Now, you can't use the watch and the controller at the same time. If you bind the watch and use the watch and then you turn it on to try to use the controller, which I'm trying to do right now, is you can see how there's no connection. So there's a red light here and this thing is flashing in bind mode. So I'm not going to be able to use the controller until I rebind the controller. So maybe a little bit of a con there. It would have been nice if they could auto bind in between the watch and the controller. So what you need to do then is, if you can't bind up and this thing is red here, you need to turn off the controller. You need to make sure this thing is in bind mode. And the way you do that is, if it's not in bind mode, you actually flip the whole drone over and turn it on. So I'm going to turn it off and show you how this works. Cool thing on this one too is the camera does power down. Some drones that use this type of camera here, universal cameras, the camera doesn't power down, but this one actually powers on and off when the drone is powered on and off. So to get ourselves in bind mode, we turn the actual Halo drone upside down. I guess it has some kind of sensor, and then we turn it on. Okay, and we're looking at the lights. We want to make sure that it has a bind mode flash. And there's our bind mode. You can see how it's 1, 2, 3 flashes on the yellow. That means we're in bind mode, and to rebind to the controller, we need to press power and hold the home button at the same time when we're powering up. So click, click and hold plus the H. And then we see some flashing there. And there we go. So the controller now has a green light here. That means we're bound up to the controller and we can flip our drone back over. So flipping this guy back over, what I'd probably recommend doing is doing one more power down and power up just so everything levels out. Lights, gimbal levels itself. And there we go. So a little bit unfortunate if you're going to use the watch or the controller. You have to kind of go through that bind process every time you use one or the other. And I'm going to go into drones here, and this is the Halo drone app. Just search for Halo drone in the App Store, and this is what pops up. Okay, so it tells you what you're connected to. You can see I'm connected to my home Wi-Fi. I don't want to be connected to my home Wi-Fi, so I've actually got to go back out, going into the settings, and then I'm going into Wi-Fi here. And what we're looking for on this menu is something like the Halo 5G. So this is actually going to be connecting directly to that 5G module for our video. So it's very important we do that. There is no security code, it looks like, so you can set a security code if you want to. So do that first. Then what you want to do is go into your Halo app and launch it. There we go. So now you can see it's connected to Wi-Fi Halo 5G in the video module. And this is also kind of important. Click on this guy and make sure this is also connected to the Halo RC as well. So you see how my Bluetooth is on, and that's connected to the Halo RC. So now guys, we're ready to go. All we need to do is press on the drone here. And here is our ground station. So I have this slightly angled just because of the glare. You can see the glare is pretty bad, so I'm just going to angle this a little bit. And it's giving us a little checklist. And what the checklist is saying is we need to calibrate this guy here. This is the tracker to the drone. So to turn on the tracker, pressing and holding. And you can see the blue light on the tracker come on. And we have a couple of things going on here. So this guy up here is flashing. You can see the drone flashing up there. That means we don't have enough GPS satellites. When that's on solid white, that means there's enough GPS satellites. So we're not going to have enough in the house here. And then this guy here over here, this is the tracker itself. You can see how it's kind of the same shape up here. So when that's white, that's going to say that we're also ready to go with enough GPS signals. Again, in the house, it's not going to work. We can see here 20-minute flight time, a tracker status. This is going to be our video status. So for some reason it's X'd out. I'm not sure why, but that is our downlink video. Let's see what's going on. So here's the module that it should be communicating with for image transmission. And I just want to kind of seat this again and see if we can get this to work. So pushing in and down, making sure that locks in nice and solid. And let's try that again. Okay, connected. There we go. Okay, great. Awesome. So you can see that we have a green check mark, and now, let me X out of here. Now when we go ahead and punch on our video, we should have video. There we go. So there is our real-time video streaming from the drone, 5.8 gigahertz. It looks like, is that digital? Looks like it may actually be sort of an analog. I'm not sure. Digital analog? Who knows? Not as clear as digital, so it's kind of like a mixed digital analog or something. I'm not too sure. But anyway, there's our latency. You can see me moving my hand. Looks like a couple hundred milliseconds of latency, but that is our video transmission. We can also do pictures. I just press for a picture, and we can start and stop our video here. So video started, and we can see that there's a little bit of a overwritten on the app. So if we touch the screen here, you can see how we cleared all of the menu options over. And it looks like the video is actually overlaid right onto the background map. On the top of the bottom, I can see that Google Maps there. And here's the video right inside there. It does look like analog, doesn't it? Not quite as clear as digital, but looks like it's working. And so we can turn off the video, saves to the SD card, tap on the screen, we get all of our menu options back. What I am hearing is when I go into, check this out, I'll be in the map. I'm going to put this a little bit close to the mic. And when I press on the video, listen what happens. Bring this up to the mic, you hear that? So it's kind of like a clicking is coming out of the module for its transmission. So kind of interesting. Okay guys, so guess what? This thing is on, this little tracker module, but we need to bind it to the controller and the drone so everything knows where this thing is when we're doing our follow functions. So what we do on that is we press this button, I think it's 5 or 6 times. I think it's 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. And we can see that light, how it's beeping, flashing, pulsing really quickly. There's no setting in actually this menu to bind to the module. So what you need to do is kind of like how we bound up the remote controller to the drone. You need to do that for the module too. So we've got this in bind mode already. So what we'll do is we'll power down the controller. We'll power up again and we'll put it in bind mode. There we go. So immediately when I did that, the light came on solid. So now the controller and the module and the drone should be all bound up. So now when I go back into the flight menu here, check it out. We have a blinking reticle for the follow module. And that just means, blinking means there's not enough satellites to do following. On white solid it means that there are enough satellites. So now if we click on this guy, we can see some of the parameters. Remaining power is 86%. Number of satellites is 0 because we are inside. And there's our connection state. So a good connection. And so there's a bunch of options here. If we go into drone settings, so you see what I just did was I went into the settings menu here up on the top right. I'm clicking on that and we're going into all these settings. So the initial one is we can do Google Maps. I have it set for map mode, satellite imagery. I have my units as imperial. You can switch to metric if you want to. We can sync time. We can look at our firmware versions. The one thing I didn't see is how to upgrade the firmware on this. So maybe it's so new that there are no updates at this time. If we hit about, we can see how we have all the versions here. I've got no update warning, so I'm not really sure how that's going to work at this point. Sync time, not sure what that's doing. Not getting any click there. Moving up, I'm going to go from the bottom up on this user interface menu. We can calibrate our gimbal. So if I go ahead and press calibrate, it's just telling us to calibrate. So I can go info as well, keep the gimbal still and ensure motors have been deactivated. I can press calibrate and it's calibrating. Make sure you're on a perfectly level surface when you do this. And the gimbal looks like it started to face down. Looking at this gimbal here and it's finding its level. Calibration okay, good. We're going to go back out of here. We're going to go into calibrate height. Altitude, it's thinking it's 16. We can hit info here, put the follow module and halo drone at the same altitude and ensure motors have been deactivated. Okay, calibrate. Calibrate. So what it's doing is it's calibrating the module here with the same height as the drone. So when you are using this tracking module, and you're moving up and down with the module when it's tracking it, the drone will follow suit and keep at that same height, which is really cool because this does have apparently a barometer in there. Okay guys, and moving up to the next item for calibration, calibrate follow module sensor. So check this out. This thing actually has a gyro in the follow module and it has a compass. So if we want to make sure that this thing, the gyro is level, we put this down on the surface like this. We press this little button here and we press calibrate. So it's calibrating the accelerometer within the tracking module. Calibration okay. And we can also calibrate the compass. So if we press information on it, it shows us exactly how to calibrate this. So we need to rotate it counterclockwise on this plane, and then we need to turn it up and rotate it counterclockwise on this plane to calibrate the compass in this guy. And this actually is going to be important to calibrate this because the functionality of the compass and the way this is facing, there are some functions in the Halo drone that use that compass in the follow module. Just to let you guys know, don't do any of these compass calibrations in your house around metal and all this kind of stuff. You want to wait till you're out in the field, out where you're going to fly, and do the compass calibrations out there. Okay, and then the last thing at the top of the list here is calibrate drone sensor. So if I click on this guy, it gives us the same thing. I can calibrate the accelerometer or the gyro, and I can also calibrate the compass. So gyro, definitely calibrate this at the flattest spot in your house, but always do your compass calibrations out in the field where you're going to fly. Moving on up to the controller, we have stick mode. We can choose between mode 1, mode 2, mode 3, and mode 4. So we have a lot of options here for controlling with the controller. Second thing down on the list is the RC calibration. Not going to do that right now. But there you go, you can calibrate your sticks if something feels a little bit off. You can go into the calibration screen. We have yaw sensitivity, so definitely more in-depth possibilities here. We can adjust our stick sensitivity, gimbal dial sensitivity on those, the gimbal for your camera to pitch up and down, and we can also reset to default. So lots of options here. Moving up to the battery status, something that a lot of drones nowadays don't have, some of the smarter drones do have, is per cell monitoring. So we can see how each cell has a certain amount of voltage, times charge. This is the second time this is charged, just because I charged it up just to go through a run through before I've done this. You can see our battery life is 99%, temperature, total capacity, remaining capacity, and our voltage up here. Moving on up the list, this is going to be our sensor, which we already just looked at for our follow module. And then the last but not least is back up to the drone up here, where we can set our max altitude. If we click on that, we just have a little scroll wheel where we can go anywhere all the way up to, let's see how high we can get. We can go all the way up to 1,640 feet, and of course it's in red when you're that high. Definitely keep it under 400 feet. It does give you a warning. If you agree to it, you're agreeing to the terms. We can also adjust our max distance, and the max distance, we have the same scroll wheel. Wow, we can go all the way up to 3,280 feet. So go ahead, and I'm just going to leave it all maxed out for my review here. Go home altitude. So this is very important. You can set this. I usually like to be right around 100 feet to clear trees and buildings in my area. So definitely check this for your area and set that. That's when you lose control. It will come back, it'll raise to that height, or if you press the home button, it'll come back, raise to that height, and then come all the way home and land. So you want to make sure that that's going to be above any buildings or trees in your area. Max flight velocity in position hold mode. So that's going to be P mode when there's enough satellites, and the GPS and the flight controller is going to limit it. It looked like stock it was 32 feet per second. I'm not sure what the calculation is on mile per hour, but I think that's somewhere around 20. Is that 16 to 20 miles per hour? We can go all the way up to 39. So I'm going to press done at 39, and that's the maximum speed we can go in position hold mode. Of course, if you're in altitude hold mode, pressing that button there, I felt the vibration on the controller. This cancels out GPS limitations and also GPS lock when you're flying. So you're not going to have that locked in position hold, but you'll be able to go faster in A mode because there's no limitation with GPS. Okay, and over here we can change what happens when our RC signal or our controller signal is lost. By default, it's set to go home. I definitely leave it at go home, just in case something happens where you lose it. It'll try to find its way back if it has enough GPS signal. We can turn beginner mode off and on over here, and what beginner mode does is it gives us a geo fence, right? So it limits us to a certain distance. And that's all that does. It enables a geo fence. If you're learning how to fly, it won't get too far away from you. And that looks like that's everything we can do in the controller, guys. Again, this is blinking up here and that's blinking over there just because there's not enough GPS satellites in the house. We can see that our battery flight time has gone down to 19 minutes since it's been on. So it looks like this drone, they're thinking you're gonna get around 19 minutes or 20 minutes. We're definitely gonna test that in the flight test. So just looking a little more in depth onto the HUD or the on-screen display. This over here centers us on where our drone's at. Right now we don't have a good GPS lock, so it's just going off somewhere in the wilderness. Definitely always make sure you have a good GPS lock before you fly. Making our way down over here, I'm going to press that. This is all of our follow functions, so pretty cool. Check it out. We have simple follow, where it's just going to follow us, turn the camera and gimbal, and just try to keep us in view with our tracking module. This one here, we have hover and aim. So all this does is it's kind of like a tripod where the drone won't move from its position, but it will move its head and also its gimbal up and down to keep the subject tracked. We have follow shadow. So this is kind of interesting, where we can adjust our altitude, our distance, radius from the tracker module, this guy here, and we can adjust where along the compass line, the compass heading rather, this drone will follow it. So pretty cool. It's like a shadow mode. We'll be testing all this out in our flight test. We also have a follow and track. So one of these tracks the compass heading of the module here, and one mode tracks just the compass heading of the drone. So you have two different options. I'm not sure which is which, but we'll find all that out also in the flight test. We also have orbit. So a lot of the new drones are coming with an orbit function, where you want to have the tracker. It's going to track this tracker here, and it's going to orbit around it, keeping in view. We can adjust our altitude for all these settings. You can see I just clicked on the altitude, click on the radius. We can adjust how big the circle is, and we can adjust our velocity, which is going to be how many miles per hour or feet per second. We'll have to play with that in the flight test as well. Of course, when you're ready to go, hit send, and you can start doing it. Here's our selfie function. A lot of the newer drones are having a selfie function where we have a max altitude it'll go to, a max distance, and a max velocity it flies out to, while keeping the subject, which is this tracking device, in view and flying out from that, just like this little example shows, distance, height, and our angle there. So this will be the finishing altitude it's going to go to, and the finishing distance it'll go to before it stops or comes back, and how fast it's going to get there with our velocity. Definitely another thing we're going to check out in our flight test. And a follow line. So basically it's kind of like a cable cam, where we can press start and we can draw a line. We'll definitely be testing that in the flight test as well. We can also click on question marks here. Unfortunately, it's upside down. Looks like maybe that's a little glitch they need to work out because of the orientation of my iPad. But kind of like a cable cam. We can do that one there. And now guess what? Oh my goodness. So the whole thing is flipped over. There we go. So a little glitch that the Halo programmers are going to want to fix with that orientation problem. Last option here is freeze. So all this does is it pauses the drone and points it down to the ground. That's all that says in the manual here. Let's do a question mark. Halo drone will remain at current location and altitude and point the camera straight down, top down shot. That's all it does. Again, that is the wrong orientation. So we want to get that flip back over. So probably in the flight test, I'll be flipping my iPad the other way, so the home button's on this side, so we don't have that problem when we're doing those functions. Anyway guys, gosh, that's about it for the module, the drone. I know this is long, but there's so much stuff going on here. I'm gonna reach over here and grab the watch and show you what this is all about. So again, keep in mind the watch cannot be bound to the drone at the same time of the controller. If you're going to use the watch, you need to rebind it just like we did with that binding procedure and make sure the watch is on and bound. I'm going to show you just a little bit in depth of the watch. There's a little protector we just took off for the screen. If I hit power here, we have just a regular watch and our battery power without it actually being on. We can see that. If we want to turn it on, we just press and hold. And there we go. So put drone and module at the same height. So it's telling you it's very important to make sure the height is calibrated. Remember how we did that module and drone calibration? We can go ahead and hit enter here. And this takes us into our watch menu. So check this out. We have the same thing up here. We have the drone and we have the module here. We have the power of the watch. And this will be either white or black or blinking depending on if it has enough GPS signal. This is going to be the mode it's in, which is unavailable right now because we don't have this linked up. time left for, this is our flight time. So it is calculating how much time we have for flight. Here we go. We have a few readings. We have our height, which is the mountain. We have our vertical speed, horizontal speed, and our distance from our point or the module. So pretty cool. If I push to the left, check this out. We have link status and battery status of the drone here, percentages and meters. How many GPS satellites are for the drone and how many are for this module. Now this watch does not have any GPS in the watch. So even if you have this watch on you, you're also going to need to have this module on you or whatever subject you're tracking, which I think is pretty darn awesome to have that capability. So the module, battery power, link status, and also GPS signal satellites on the module as well. Very cool. If we scroll over, we have functions of the watch. So we can take off, we can go home, and the way we do that is we're just scrolling down the menu here. We can set our home point. Now this is something you can do in the regular iPad app and on this. I forgot to show you. Land at where the module is. You can see that we can set it to wherever the module is, that'll be the home point. We can set it to our takeoff point or the drone launch point. So we have various options there for our takeoff. This would be good for maybe a boat. If the boat's moving and you launch from a boat, set it at the module if you have the module on the boat, and it will always come back to the boat no matter where it is, even though it's moving. So a lot of cool options here. Getting a little tone when we do pick our different functions. We can also do manual control. So check this out. So we press on manual. We have this guy here is going to be forward, left, right, and back. So pitching and rolling of the drone. It doesn't look like we can adjust the yaw of the drone. And then this here is going to be up and down. So climbing and descending. And that looks like that's all we can do for manual mode. I'm going to get out of that by pressing this button up here. Go back into that menu. And here's our setup. So this is if we need to bind the module, the tracking module here. So we put that in bind mode. Remember that pulsing blue light bind mode with 6 presses. And then this is where we're going to bind the watch. And also to the drone. When we put the drone in bind mode, we'll want to do those at the same time. So everything's communicating together. We can change our language. I think this is only Chinese and English at the moment. Oh, also altitude calibration. So you can also do this from the watch, calibrate the drone and the module altitude so they're both the same altitude, so there's no discrepancies when following. So great guys, so lots of options. To power off this watch, you do need to press power off here and then go to OK. There's no button to actually power it off, just a button to power it on. So I'm going to power on one more time and I want to show you what this guy does. So the mode button is interesting. Remember all those modes I showed you here on the tablet? All those follow modes? Those are actually done just by a button press in the M button here for the watch. And what happens is you press it once and it cycles through the modes, and if you leave it at that mode for 3 seconds, it'll start the mode. So let me just show you that. So pressing, simple follow, it's counting down. There's actually vibration on the watch, and you see how when it ended 3 seconds, it went ahead and started that mode. So if you are on and calibrated and everything with the drone, you will be able to do that. If I press before the 3 seconds are up, I can cycle through all the modes. Awesome. Orbit, selfie, freeze, all the same modes that you can do on the tablet. Let it go, it starts the mode. Ever want to stop the mode you're in? Boom. Press that and it goes and starts hovering automatically. Cool, so a lot of options here, guys. We're definitely going to have a whole separate video for watch functionality. Probably not going to get to that in the flight test, which is actually coming up next. So don't miss that video. I think that goes into everything really in depth in the new Halo drone. I hope you enjoyed that. I know it was a long one, but there's a lot of stuff going on here, and I wanted to cover everything from unboxing, inspection to setup. So don't miss the several more videos that are going to be coming out for this new Halo drone. Really excited. It looks like it's going to be a good option for people that want to track sports accurately and want to have a specific designated module for tracking and are frustrated with losing visual tracking like on DJI drones, where if you pass behind something or your subject passed behind something, or if things are moving too fast, those drones will lose track of the object. This one won't happen if you have good GPS signal. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. Check out the Halo drone in the description, and I will see you in the flight tests. Thanks for watching.